You've had 24 hours to try and armchair quarterback things. That agent had a split second to make a decision.
This is my point. A split second to make a decision, and there's arms flailing, feet flailing. This guy's fighting. He has a gun. Someone yells, "Gun, gun!" What is he supposed to do? Alright guys, these ICE protesters are at it again. They're swarming hotels. It looks like they set it on fire. I don't know what's up. Let's see what the vibe is here.
All right, the cold weather didn't seem to stop protesters from swarming a Minnesota hotel overnight, which they believe is housing ICE agents. This is still going on.
It all comes up.
No, it's not fire. They have flares.
A Minnesota judge holds a hearing today after ordering DHS to preserve all evidence from this weekend shooting. Madeline Rivera live from Washington with the details. Maddie.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. This has become a familiar scene in Minnesota. Protesters gathering at hotels where they believe federal agents are staying, clashing with them and making any noise they can by banging drums or blowing whistles. In one instance, protesters attempted to push their way through a blockade that agents tried to form near a hotel's front door. The anger in the state has intensified after the fatal shooting of 37-year-old Alex Pretti. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says her agency is leading the probe, but state officials say they want to do an investigation as well, and they've secured a temporary restraining order blocking federal officials from destroying evidence. Minnesota leaders accuse federal authorities of blocking their act.
You see, again, this guy is struggling and fighting. He's struggling and fighting.
Access to the crime scene.
I covered that in all the videos.
I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, or whatever, but you should at least be in favor of conserving evidence in a homicide. And to have to go get an order from a judge to preserve that evidence is extraordinary and should alarm everyone who believes in equal justice under the law.
That's fair enough.
DHS says Pretti tried to obstruct an active law enforcement operation, and Noem says the agent who fired his weapon was afraid for his life. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bavino says agents are operating under stressful circumstances.
Yes, look at that. Look at this dog pile. This is what I keep telling people. Like, look at how this guy is rustling.
Says agents are operating under stressful circumstances.
They're trying to subdue this
Let's
guy.
think of what those agents were doing on that scene, making a split-second decision. You've had 24 hours to try and armchair quarterback things. That agent had a split second to make a decision.
This is my point. A split second to make a decision, and there's arms flailing, feet flailing. This guy's fighting. He has a gun. Someone yells, "Gun, gun!" What is he supposed to do? Y'all need to just exercise some common sense, man. Come on.
But as the protests rage, several federal sources tell our Bill Malugin they're frustrated with some of the narratives and claims from DHS, and they say they support the mass deportation agenda from the Trump administration, but they have concerns about the way it's being carried out. President Trump telling the Wall Street Journal his administration is reviewing everything about the incident. Carly and Todd.
Madeline Rivera, thank you. With that, let's bring in former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey. And Jonathan, I'm confused because I went to law school, and albeit I haven't practiced in a number of years, but you saw Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, there saying it is uproarious that we need to go to court to get the DHS and ICE to preserve this evidence in this case. Is that hearing and that action by the AG there even necessary, or is this all political grandstanding from AG Ellison, from the Minnesota judge who is going to hold today's hearing? Because evidence in a case like this is going to be preserved anyway.
You're exactly right. And what he's doing is abusing the court system as another way to defame ICE, to defame law enforcement, to defame the Trump administration. It's totally inappropriate. But remember, just last week, Keith Ellison, when talking about the FACE Act, didn't even understand what it was and had clearly never read it, but he's willing to go out on TV and talk about all these issues. But it's clearly a political stunt. What's going to happen is the federal government's going to investigate this case. The evidence will be preserved. If the state wants to do a parallel investigation, they can have at it, do whatever they want, but they're not entitled to be a part of the federal investigation. And ultimately, as we've talked about before, the state, if they try to charge these officers or this officer, they're going to ultimately fail in federal court because it will get removed to federal court and dismissed under the supremacy clause, under what's called supremacy clause or federal officer immunity, which has been precedent from the Supreme Court since 1890. So all he's doing is trying to continue to stir things up. It would be so nice if he, Walt, Fry would at some point take a level of maturity, because it's their state that they should be trying to protect, and instead it's constant political theater and always racing to the bottom with him and those other two.
Yeah,
I think it's obvious to me that the responsible thing at this point for these governors and these AGs and these state officials to do is immediately begin educating your people, because it seems like the American public is lacking a basic education in how to engage with any sort of law enforcement. And so we say, oh, these guys are not law enforcement. Okay, how do you engage with someone in uniform with a gun? One-on-one. That's what we call the class. Whether they are proper law enforcement, whether they're constitutional law enforcement or whatever, what is the smart thing to do when you're surrounded by men in uniforms with guns? What's the thing that you need to do to preserve your life as much as possible? And it's clear that the average citizen here just does not seem to know that. Yeah, how about not fighting? How about you comply? He shouldn't have to comply. Yeah, probably you might be right. You might be right. Let's go to court later and find out. Let's get him bailed out. Let's get this guy arrested. This Alex guy or whoever, he'll get pepper sprayed. He'll get thrown to the ground. He'll get handcuffed. He'll get arrested, and someone is going to come and bail him out, and then he's going to go to a lawyer, and the lawyer is going to come and challenge the thing, and then we're going to see what the legality is. How about that? How about don't rustle and tussle and fight with the officers, with armed officers in the street?